Welcome back to our channel where we share updates and untold stories about Catherine, Princess of Wales, and her royal family. Today we bring you some news. Camilla goes nuts after Prince George's daring speech at Royal Gala shocked everyone. An intimate source said that Prince George delivered a bold statement at a royal event that really astonished Camilla. King Charles allegedly fell into tears upon hearing what Prince George said. This speech has astonished the whole royal family. An annual gala at Buckingham Palace, meant to be a ceremonial celebration of charitable work and a chance for the monarchy to show its softer side to the public, suddenly became the center of a major and unexpected crisis for the House of Windsor after an address by His Royal Highness Prince George of Wales. The statement, which was quite different from what is usually said by royals in public, was largely seen as a clear and harsh criticism of how the royal family works. When the prince spoke in front of senior members of the royal family like His Majesty King Charles III and Her Majesty Queen Camilla, the event quickly changed from a normal official engagement to something that shocked everyone. There got a long-standing ovation in the hall and set off a media storm around the world. The event has already sparked a lot of public debate regarding the future direction and stability of the institution, bringing up issues that transcend beyond the speech itself to the very nature and administration of the contemporary monarchy. The gala itself is a big event in the royal calendar. These events usually take place in the ceremonial areas of Buckingham Palace and are meant to bring together government officials, philanthropists, leaders from the arts and philanthropic sectors, and other prominent personalities to honor and promote charitable causes. They mix the pomp and circumstance of royal etiquette with a real purpose to honor the work of groups that need public attention, donations, and support to keep going. Younger members of the royal family typically attend these events for two reasons: to support the causes being commemorated and to provide the younger royals a chance to learn about public obligations in a safe and regulated way. Because of these reasons, it is fairly uncommon for a junior family member to give a short pre-approved speech. These speeches are usually short, well-planned, and coordinated with the palace's communications system to minimize any unanticipated controversy. But in the weeks leading up to the reception, visitors and palace writers noticed that the mood was unusually tense for such an event. People who worked for the Queen Consort and the Princess of Wales Catherine but didn't want to be named said that there was rising tension between the two houses. These stories, which are regularly spread about the palace as gossip, hinted at a growing competition among senior royals for power duties and public-facing jobs in the years to come. When these kinds of tensions happen in public life, they can show up as disagreements over how to give out patronages, how to make certain causes more visible, how to plan and present engagements to the public, and how to deal with a public that is becoming more diverse and skeptical. People who were there discreetly noticed that a lot of people were watching the interactions or lack of contact between the two women who hold these important positions. So, in the weeks leading up to the gala, there was a sense of anticipation and anxiety in the air. When the event started that night, it followed the usual royal ceremonial rituals. Guests were welcomed in the grand state rooms. There were brief opening remarks, and the audience, which included dignitaries, philanthropists, and cultural figures, settled in for what was expected to be a series of speeches and presentations. But some who have watched royal activities closely said that the ceremonies were unusually reserved. People at the party spoke to each other, but there were also rumors about a supposed disagreement. Many people kept looking at little gestures and seating arrangements. In this setting, Prince George, a younger family member who was about to be introduced to public responsibilities, was supposed to give a brief speech that had already been approved. People who came anticipated the usual courteous words of thanks and support for the causes being honored. What happened, on the other hand, was completely unexpected. People who were there at the time said that as Prince George walked up to the platform, the place became silent right away. Witnesses said he seemed calm and remarkably poised for someone who was just starting out in public life. They also said he started with the typical words of appreciation to the hosts and the organizations that were there that night. Such a polite, methodical, and proper introduction temporarily eased the tension that had been building in the audience. In the language of royal communications, these first sentences set the speech in the usual ceremonial context. But the speech shifted from a formal acknowledgement to a serious look at the ideas that support the monarchy itself. Prince George went from being polite and businesslike to what many people thought was an interventionist expression of core values: loyalty, service, integrity, and the sacred relationship between the crown and its people. People who were there said that his tone, even though he was young, had an unexpected weight to it. People who were watching said that the choice of those specific subjects was important because of the time and place of the event. Young royals are usually told to talk in generalities to avoid controversy, but the content of his comments was quite clear. The prince made criticisms based on the problems faced by people who seek to serve with integrity and honesty without naming anyone. He stressed the need for unity and explicitly condemned behaviors that cause division within these very walls. Comments that many witnesses thought were aimed at the royal family's internal dynamics. Several people in the room said that Prince George's attention was locked on the front row where Queen Camilla was sitting. Many of them thought that this made his vague words much more explicit. The result was that what seemed like basic moral rules turned into what many people saw as a specific criticism. The prince spoke about the forces that seek to undermine true service in one of the most important parts of his speech. He said that he wanted to safeguard the institution from hypocrisy and internal strife, and commended his mother, the Princess of Wales, for her devotion. People who were there said that there was a clear reference to an intentional sidelining of her influence, and that such marginalization was bad for both her and the people she serves. A visitor subsequently told a national newspaper that the main point of the comments was to accuse high-ranking officials of running a planned campaign to undermine the Princess of Wales's position in the family and the institution. In other words, what was supposed to be a criticism of abstract ideas was seen by many as a direct accusation that certain members of the royal family tried to downplay or neutralize Catherine's public presence and power by claiming to follow tradition. There was also a comment in the speech that clearly addressed the issue of hereditary succession, which is both emotionally intense and constitutionally delicate. Prince George spoke of forces that had worked in shadow to erode the rightful place of my father's line. Many people took those words to mean that Queen Camilla or other high-ranking people in the institution connected to her position had tried to lower the status of the Prince of Wales, His Royal Highness Prince William. To comprehend the profound resonance of such language, it is necessary to examine the constitutional and symbolic significance of the line of succession. In a British constitutional monarchy, the line of succession decides who gets the crown first. If someone says that the integrity of that order has been compromised, it means that there is not only conflict between people, but also threats to the institution's succession plan, and by extension, to its continuity. Because of these things, the mention of the degradation of my father's line was perceived as a dramatic and destabilizing accusation by many people. Prince George ended his speech by asking for a restoration of trust and a return to what he called the monarchy's true and unwavering service to the people. He didn't ask for personal vindication. Instead, he challenged the institution to recommit to its most important duties. The remarks hung in the air of the palace, and their impact was much stronger since they went against long-standing royal decorum. The British royal family has always followed a strong rule that private family affairs should be secret. This tradition is meant to protect the crown's dignity, so bringing up problems even indirectly in such a formal environment was going against a long-standing rule. The room's initial response summed up just how shocked everyone was. For a few seconds, the visitors sat in startled silence, as if they didn't know what to say in response to a speech that used both general concepts and unique family dynamics. When one person started to clap, the quiet broke. Others immediately joined in, and the clapping grew until it became a long, loud standing ovation. People who saw the event said the reaction was unusual for a royal event when clapping is usually quiet and measured. The fact that many artists, philanthropists, and other well-known people stood up showed that they not only agreed with what the prince said in his address, but also with the moral stand he had taken. One longtime royal journalist said that the response was unique in modern royal history. This shows how rare it is for so many people to show their support in such a formal setting as a palace supper. The main family member's behavior was clearly different, which added to the drama. People who were close to the Princess of Wales said they saw her dab at her eyes and then go up and put a hand on Prince George's shoulder as he came down from the platform. This was seen by onlookers as a strong show of parental support. Then she gave her son a single thoughtful nod, which was a little but powerful statement that she agreed with him. In the highly ritualized vocabulary of the palace, a senior royal showing support in such a visible and physical way was intrinsically important. It sent a clear message to everyone who saw it about where compassion and loyalty rested at that time. Queen Camilla, on the other hand, stayed sitting at first. Several sources said she seemed rattled, with others around saying she was ashen-faced and frozen. This suggests that the speech had upset her usual calm. As the acclaim persisted and the mood in the room changed clearly in favor of the prince's intervention, royal staff were observed moving quietly around the walls, talking to each other and trying with varied degrees of haste to restore the regular course of events. Their evident discomfort showed that they knew an unforeseen and perhaps detrimental break was happening. When the ovation eventually died down, Queen Camilla stood up and, to many people's surprise, walked to the microphone as if to make an instant correction. People thought that what she said next was an effort to put a new spin on the event. She said that Prince George's remarks were not his own, and that whispers meant to turn him against his family had manipulated him. Many people in the room did not like the claim that a youngster had been used as a tool of factional maneuvering. Critics in the room said it sounded defensive and dismissive of the prince's agency, while allies of the Wales family thought it sounded personal and maybe even dangerous. After Camilla's intervention, the Princess of Wales took a single step forward to stand closer to her son. This was clearly a planned move that went against the Queen Consort's accusation of orchestration, and instead showed how close the Wales family is. People who were there said that Queen Camilla's next attempt to defend her position was weak. After a few more sentences in which she repeated her commitment to duty and talked about her own sacrifices for the crown, she went back to her seat looking like she had lost the argument. The events of the gala swiftly spread beyond the palace gates and into the worldwide media ecosystem in the hours that followed. Newspapers, TV stations, and websites shared pictures from the night, with the picture of Prince George at the lectern with a supportive Princess of Wales and a clearly upset Queen Consort being the most popular. Some outlets used dramatic language in their headlines, using words like rebellion, royal coup, and civil war to show how serious the situation was. The palace, knowing how severe the breach was and how it may hurt their image even further, first tried to handle the problem by saying no comment. But that method didn't do much to stop the flood of rumors and news that followed. Sources within the palace that were not identified started to leak information, giving pieces of the story that cleverly made the feeling of chaos behind the scenes even stronger. It's not uncommon for authorized accounts to be leaked to friendly journalists during times of institutional stress in order to shape the public record. However, in this case, the immediate result was a collage of competing portrayals. Some reports said the king was angry about the breach of protocol and was thinking about how to punish those responsible. Other reports said he was thoughtful and realized that the incident had brought up important issues that needed institutional reflection. It's important to note that emergency meetings at Buckingham Palace, especially those with high-ranking courtiers and family members, are usually places where people can quickly fix problems and think about what to do next. These can include things like coordinating messaging strategies or changing public duties and household responsibilities. Reports from the media say that King Charles did call a late-night meeting with his senior aides and family members. The reports that came out of those meetings showed the many pressures that the king was under at the time, the duty to protect the dignity of the crown, the personal ties of family, and the need to respond to a wave of public opinion. Queen Camilla stayed out of the public eye right after the event. The palace said that she would not be able to attend her planned events because of a temporary indisposition, which is a euphemism used in royal communications to indicate that someone is sick for a short time without giving any specifics. That explanation just made people more curious. Some sources said she was at her own home, Ray Mill House in Wiltshire, but others said she stayed in London and had extensive private meetings with the king and her advisors. The fact that the Queen Consort was not on the public calendar together with the constant stream of news stories about her led to further worries about her future function and the stability of her place within the complicated web of personal and institutional connections that make up the contemporary monarchy. Meanwhile, it seemed like a lot of people were passionately in favor of Prince George and his mother. People who supported the young prince and his family started to congregate outside the gates of both Buckingham Palace and Kensington Palace. They held placards and sang slogans in favor of the prince and his family. Several national news organizations did quick polls in the days after the gala. The results, which were widely reported in the media, showed that a lot of people supported the prince's speech, with many calling it brave or necessary. On social media, a group of supportive comments formed around the hashtag #PrinceGeorgeSpeaks, which was popular around the world for more than 48 hours. It's interesting that compassion spread so fast on social media, since in today's world of information, digital signals can swiftly change the stories that mainstream media tell and generate a feeling of momentum that is hard for established institutions to stop. At the same time, it seemed like the occurrence put Prince William, the Prince of Wales, in a very dangerous situation. People close to him whose names were kept secret in news stories said he was torn between two responsibilities: his responsibility as a father to his son and wife, and his duty as the monarch's successor to protect the crown's unity and continuation. These demands aren't only personal. They also have to do with constitutional and ceremonial duties. As a senior working royal and the chosen successor, the Prince of Wales has responsibilities. If the public supports his line of the family, they may expect him and his immediate family to take a bigger part in the monarchy's public life. People who saw it said that William's behavior throughout the speech was calm and measured, which may have been a sign of the difficult balancing act he has to do while the family deals with the aftermath. A few days after the banquet, the Wales family put on a carefully planned public show outside Kensington Palace that brought Prince William, the Princess of Wales, and Prince George in front of onlookers. Many others saw that exhibit as a show of family togetherness and a clear message that the Wales family planned to stick together throughout the crisis. Reports say that thousands of supporters came out to meet them, which adds to the idea that a large part of the public has joined their cause. For royal analysts, the appearance served two purposes. It brought people together around the young prince and his mother, and it was also a form of political theater. By saying that the Wales family represented the forward-looking face of the monarchy, it implicitly challenged the established order. A week after the event, Buckingham Palace released an official statement that was said to be from King Charles. The statement was well-worded, and many people thought it was clearly thought out. The king acknowledges the courage and commitment to the crown shown by his grandson, Prince George. The royal family is dedicated to its responsibility to serve the country and will think about the problems that have come up. We ask for privacy as the family deals with these issues. The statement was highly criticized for being unclear. It praised the prince's courage, but didn't either support or condemn his violation of convention. Experts on the Constitution and historians who wrote on the king's answer in the newspaper said that it summed up the problem that each monarch faces: how to combine personal familial attachments with the need to protect the dignity and impartiality of the monarchy. Some people thought the statement was an effort to buy time as the family and its advisors thought about what to do next. Others said it was a warning that the monarchy was going through a long period of internal struggle that may be dangerous. Those historical analysts who evoked precedent warned that the monarchy's most severe contemporary problems have concentrated around the personal decisions and private connections of its leading members. Some pundits compared the situation to the abdication issue of 1936, when King Edward VIII gave up the crown to Mary Wallace Simpson. This led to a constitutional and popular legitimacy problem for the crown. Invoking that parallel served to underscore the gravity of the present situation. The 1936 crisis fundamentally reshaped the way in which the monarchy interacted with both the political establishment and public opinion, and any episode that calls into question the coherence and unity of the royal family can have similarly far-reaching implications for institutional legitimacy and succession. The long-term effects of Prince George's involvement are yet unknown, and both cautious supporters and worried detractors have different ideas about what may happen next. Supporters of the prince's position say that his comments might be the start of a much-needed generational change. From this point of view, the event is a good thing since it shows how institutional norms have, according to critics, protected the monarchy from being held accountable and kept it from meeting contemporary standards for openness and honesty. Some people think that the Wales dynasty, which has long been linked to more media-savvy and humanized ways of doing public service, is a better example of a monarchy that fits with modern public ideals. They believe that the family's rising popularity might lead to changes that make the institution more efficient, more relevant to younger people, and more focused on real social involvement as part of the Crown's public mandate. However, many who disagree with that idea say that disclosing family problems in such a public and symbolic way might hurt the monarchy's unique source of power, which has always been a mystery. The monarchy's long-standing rules, such as its impartiality in political concerns, its privacy in personal matters, and its carefully controlled public image, have helped keep things stable. Critics say that when private fights happen during public ceremonies, they take away the dignity that gives the institution its soft power and makes it a symbol of unity for a varied group of people. From this perspective, Prince George's breach of convention may establish a precedent that emboldens family members to use prominent platforms to promote personal or factional grievances, thus undermining institutional coherence. The pressures on institutions go beyond public opinion and family dynamics to include more formal and procedural issues. In practice, the monarchy is a mix of public functions, domestic arrangements, and constitutional obligations. The institution tries to keep things together by giving out patronages and public tasks, running royal homes, and making plans for public communication. In this situation, these tools come into play, re-evaluating household duties, recalibrating public-facing roles, and using public appearances and statements strategically may all be ways to bring things back to normal. Advisors both inside and outside the palace will probably talk about whether to focus on stability and moderation or on change and adaptability. There are pros and cons to either option. For example, staying the same may protect dignity, but risk making the institution seem insensitive to public opinion. On the other hand, changing may make the institution more in line with modern principles, but also make it more vulnerable to direct criticism. The event has sparked wider public discussions on the role and importance of hereditary institutions in the 21st century, in addition to its impact on the monarchy's internal workings. For many years, the monarchy has had to find its place in a society that is becoming more and more concerned with issues of equality, accountability, and openness. In this situation, how the public reacts to a family fight might be just as important as the details of the fight itself for how legitimate the institution seems to be. Some people may remember Prince George's speech as the start of a generational shift that sped up the move to a monarchy that is more accessible and responsive to the changing public. Some people may consider it an example of careless honesty that has hurt the monarchy's capacity to be a steady and dignified symbol of the country. The current circumstances and future prospects of famous family members have been influenced. Queen Camilla's brief absence from public responsibilities and sudden presence at the gala to defend herself show that her status has been seriously eroded, at least for now. It seems that the younger Wales household now has more power in the royal family. If this transition lasts, it will probably impact the way duties are shared and the public image of the monarchy. King Charles has been given the difficult job of being an impartial judge. He is expected to protect the crown's continuity and nonpartisan nature, but he is also emotionally concerned about the well-being of family members whose private problems have now become public issues. How he decides to handle this mix of personal and institutional duties will probably have a big effect on the monarchy's destiny. The experience has also shown how quickly modern media ecosystems can turn a single moment into a long-lasting story. Within hours, images and parts of the speech spread across the world, and social media acted as both an amplifier and an echo chamber, speeding up the formation of partisan support and the development of different public narratives. In this situation, palace communications staff have to deal with two problems at once: protecting the monarchy's image in the short term and creating a long-term story about its principles and continuity. One example of an effort to find a middle ground is the king's carefully worded public statement that praised Prince George's courage but requested solitude. It is not clear whether this will be enough to end the arguments and allow for careful, orderly discussion. As the first shock of the gala wears off, the royal family is at the beginning of what might be a long process of negotiating and redefining things. The things that happened that night let tensions that had been kept secret until now come out into the open. A lot of things will determine whether these tensions lead to a positive change that prepares the monarchy for a new era or a cycle of internal conflict that weakens the institution's authority. These include how senior royals react, how advisors and courtiers handle practical changes, how public opinion changes, and how political and constitutional actors understand and respond to the situation as it develops. At this time, the world is watching. The event was supposed to be a way for people to celebrate and support the royal family, but it turned into a defining moment in modern royal history. It showed how fragile and dynamic an institution can be when it combines private family life with public duty. It is yet unclear whether this moment will be recognized as the start of a measured and publicly responsible rebirth of the monarchy or as the commencement of an irreversible fall. What is clear, though, is that the speech a young prince gave at a palace gala has changed people's views, changed alliances, and started debates and decisions that will have an impact on the next few months and years as the UK and people all over the world try to figure out what kind of monarchy will lead them into the future. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts and goodbye for now.